Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Upsetmax, and we have our final patch of the sets before set 13 comes out. We're going to be talking about the new comps that you should be playing to climb on the final patch, which is essentially what I like to call the Xerath patch. So the three comps that we're going to be talking about today is going to be Bastion Xerath, Chrono Karma, and then Kassadin Reroll, having a bit of a comeback with a lot of buffs that is bringing this comp back into the light of the meta. So the first one, Bastion Xerath. So Bastion has received a couple buffs in the past recent patches. However, the main thing that brought this specific composition into patch 14.22 is the buffs to Xerath. So Xerath essentially got 3 buffs, not only to his actual damage, and as you can see here, the 2-star of Xerath per bolt has increased almost 200 damage per bolt, which is absolutely insane. Then the actual Transcendent Charms or Ascendant Charms, the odds have been increased by 4% for each turn that you have Xerath fielded. So now each turn you have him fielded, it will go up by 12%, and it will cap at 50% rather than 40%, so you'll have a much higher chance of actually getting one of those good Xerath charms. So these two combined together really makes Xerath a really good unit on the current patch, and you'll see that he will be played in multiple compositions such as this one. Also the Arcana Xerath Varus comp is back. However, the main thing is you do need to hit Xerath, and since he is a 5 cost, it is not always guaranteed, especially if you're on level 8. So this Bastion Xerath comp is going to be a fast 8-9 comp, so you'll eventually want to be on level 9, however you might have to stabilize a little bit on level 8. This is going to be a magic damage stall comp because of all this Bastion frontline, and we're going to be building a lot of Archangels for this composition, and it requires 5 costs, namely the Diana and Xerath, and also the Milio in order to cap out and actually top 4 and get a good placement. So the way you want to be playing this comp, I want to compare it a little bit to like the AP version of Shapeshifter Dragons. The only difference is now you can actually roll a little bit on 8 for rise stability, which will help you a little bit compared to the Shapes Dragon, where if you hit that Varus, it does help you a little bit more. However, you definitely want to be going for that 5 cost in the Shapes Dragon. In this case, the level 8 4 cost rise will be able to stabilize you a little bit better. So I included 2 boards that you will be wanting to roll down for on level 8 if you have to roll and you're not stable. Ideally, we skip this idea of rolling on level 8 and just go fast 9 with the help of some econ augments. However, sometimes you're not able to hit those and you have to roll to stabilize. So the low roll stabilize on level 8 is going to be this upper board where essentially you don't hit any 5 costs. You'll just be playing 6 Bastion, putting your main tank on Tark, and also Rise carrying your Xerath/Milio items, and just a Zoe for some traits to stabilize your board. The actual high roll board is you're going to be hitting your 5 costs. So the 5 costs you really want is Diana, Xerath, and Milio. So if you hit Xerath and Milio into your backline, that'll replace the Rise and the Zoe. So Xerath is going to be holding a mana item, so either Shojin or Adaptive plus an Archangels +1. Normally you could leave this last item just for your Milio to throw. However, if you don't have Milio at the time, a second Archangel, Rabadon, Jewel Gauntlet, even Rep Buff, these are all fine items on Xerath. Diana is going to be your main frontline tank / damage, so she will be having a Bloodthirster plus an Archangels, plus your third item will be either a second Archangels or Jewel Gauntlet, Rabadon, Helm, so that's a Adaptive Helm or a Crown Guard. So this is going to be your Dynamis, and then Milio will be holding your utility items, so your Static Shiv and also your red buff, and he will just be wanting to print out items for your team. One thing to note, in the Herald version, when you have the Diana, Xerath, and Milio, if you have a choice, you definitely want to be 3 itemizing your Diana rather than 3 item your Xerath. The reason why is Xerath will be casting pretty late into the fight, like I'd say at least like 7-8 seconds, especially or if you have a mana item, and definitely longer if you don't. So this means getting an extra AP item on him early, such as like a Rabadon's or like a Jewel Gauntlet. It doesn't do anything until the Xerath actually casts. However, the Diana is up in business, actually fighting and taking damage, dealing damage. So you definitely want her to have her third item as soon as possible, and even at the start of the fights. As mentioned, your tank items is going to be on Tark, and then on level 9, you'll just be playing an Ahri and then giving the signifier to Ahri until you have enough charms, probably around 9 or 12, for the Xerath true damage to be better. This is what your final board is going to look like. So you see here Ahri. Everybody on your board essentially benefits from this AP from Ahri, even though you don't have any 3-star champions except for the Hecarim, right? So Lilia benefits, Diana definitely benefits, Tark, Nunu, Shen, Xerath, and Milio, whereas not everyone benefits from the true damage, since you essentially only have 3 damage dealers onto your board. And also, until you hit at least, like I'd say 9 or even 12 charms, I'd say the true damage is not even worth it yet, like a high enough number to justify signifying the Xerath. So this is going to be your final board. As you can see here, it's going to be super strong if you're able to get to this level 9 spot. Best of all augments go along with this composition, Bastion, Crest, or Crown. In this case, you won't play the Ari, you'll just play a Poppy, and then you'll Bastion, Crest the Milio. That way you'll get 8 Bastion, your Xerath and Milio are invulnerable until 4 other Bastions die, and this just helps into the stall comp, allows your Archangels to stack up, allows your Milio to print items, and is super strong. Great Boss, Giant and Mighty, Martyr are all going to be very good as well. Little Buddies, Dual Q to fish for these 5 costs. Once you hit either a Diana, Xerath, or Milio, you're going to be in a very good spot. And also Final Ascension, because we have so much stall and we're easily going to be hitting that 15 seconds into the fight and ascending. A couple other really good augments, High Voltage is going to be good, Arcana, Crest, or Crown, Common Bandages, and also any econ to help you get to level 9 and hit those 5 cost carries. If you like what you're seeing, feel free to join the free coaching Discord that I've created. In this Discord, I include every meta board with positioning item descriptions, and you can also ask any TFT questions that you'd like. Also, if you like that, definitely check out the GoFundMe and help me out for the TFT Macau Open, which will be happening at the end of this year in December. So moving on to our second comp today is going to be the Chrono Karma board. This is going to be a fast 8 comp, and it will also be a magic damage stall comp. You'll be requiring some sort of anti-heal in this comp, so either red buff or Morello. I believe red buff is going to be a little bit better into this composition, and also some sort of shred, so either a Shiv or a Spark. The main changes into this composition is that the chrono time to proc has been decreased by 4 seconds, which means that it's going to be less than 10 seconds into the fight when the actual chrono trait procs, and if you have at least 4 chrono in, you'll be essentially stunning the enemy board like 8 seconds into the fight, because your chrono units will also be casting. So this is an insane buff, allowing this trait to really pop off. Karma also gets more damage onto her ability per cast. So remember, this is going to be per cast, so this will be dealing a lot of damage. And Zilean has been changed slightly less utility, so 0.25 seconds off of his stun. However, he'll be casting more often because of his mana buff, and he'll be dealing more damage on the initial and also the secondary damage of his bomb. So I also included 2 more boards, including the low roll and also the high roll. You're going to want to still roll on level 8 and not just go fast 9 with this composition. So you're going to level to 8 normally on 4-2 and then roll down for one of these boards. The low roll version means you have to play around the Gwen and the Fiora. These will be your item holders for the Morgana and the Camille. And this will be your board. You're going to Chrono Emblem the Gwen, still have 4 Chrono in, and then Spark, Crown Guard, just any AP item on the Gwen. Fiora will hold your Camille items like BT, IE, Hodge, Eon. And Karma, the 2 main items that you need on her, is going to be some sort of mana, so either Shojin or a blue buff, and a red buff or Morello plus 1 other AP item. Eventually, you're going to want to move your items over to the Morgana and Camille. So Morgana will be now holding your Chrono Emblem and 2 AP items. So Spark, Crown Guard, Rabadon's Adaptive Helm are good. And Camille will be holding your 80 items. So Bloodthirster, IE, Eon, Giant Slayer, Deathblade, or Hodge are good options on her as well. On level 9, you're going to be adding a Milio or a Cassiopeia. Milio is a little bit better, but until you hit him, Cassiopeia is perfectly fine as well. And with the recent Zilean changes, Zilean is a pretty decent holder of mana and AP items in the back line, so you could definitely put a Shojin or even any AP items on the Zilean as well. This is how you're going to want to cap your board, and also positioning wise, it's okay to not let Camille get hit right away. Milio here to start printing items for the rest of your board as well. At best, as augments to go along with this. You're really going to want to play this composition if you have a Chrono +1. One thing to note though is it's going to be a lot better to get this Chrono +1 on 3-2 or 4-2. The reason why is on 2-1 you can normally not fit in 4 Chrono, so then this augment just has less value if you're going for a better 2-1 augment or even an econ augment. However, on 3-2 and 4-2 it is quite easy to fit at least 4 Chrono and then eventually that 6 Chrono jump. But the Forge is also going to be very good. Dual Q fishing for these 5 costs. Fast Forward for the Chrono Augments. Aggressive Preservation. Spellcaster's Toolbox. In this case, you'll be putting the Zhonya's on the Morgana. And then also the Mana Zane on the Karma or the Milio, depending on what you have at the time. Same with Little Buddies. Definitely go for this composition if you are able to play able to get a Chrono Crest on 3-2 or 4-2. Sometimes you'll also just take Branching Out or Wandering Trainer and get a Chrono Emblem, and that will really tailor your game into playing 6 Chrono as your final endgame board. And then moving on to our final comp of the day, the Kassadin Akali multi-striker reroll. This is going to be on level 6 since we're going to be rerolling 2 costs. This is going to be a mixed damage scaling melee composition where we're going to be both itemizing the Kassadin with magic AP items and Akali with some physical damage items. The main thing that really brought this composition back into light is the Akali and the Kassadin buff. So normally champions, especially AD champions, get a base AD increase of 5. Well, in this case, Akali gets a base AD increase of 10, so essentially double of what units normally get in terms of buffs. Also, Kassadin has been receiving a couple other buffs, and recently he will now be casting more often with 10 mana shaved off the top. Ashe will also be casting a little bit more often, however, most of the time you're not rerolling Ashe unless it comes super free and you have a lot of items, but an Ashe buff is always nice. Now, in order to play this composition, you're going to need 2 things. You're going to need melee survivability augments. So any augment that allows you to survive, sustain, and stay alive and allow your Kassadin to scale, or some Ornn artifacts such as, well, I will show them on the next slide here. So the main game plan for the Kassadin board is to roll on level 6, which means you're not going to be leveling or rolling until at least stage 3-2, where you're then going to want to level to 6, have the highest percent chance odds of seeing 2 cost units, and then roll for 5 multi-striker, 2 Bastion, 2 Pyro, so just the Shen, with a 2-star Kassadin or a 2-star Akali, just depending on who you have items for. So for example, if you have a 2 or 3 item Kassadin at this point, but 0 item Akali, then you only want to roll until you have this board plus a 2-star Kassadin, and vice versa. If you only have Akali items, then you don't have to worry too much about the 2-star Kassadin yet, you just only want to be 2-starring your Akali for sure. Best in slot Kassadin is going to be Titans and Bloodthirster +1. This +1 is normally going to be a Quicksilver because you really want that CC immunity on the Kassadin. However, if you have a Banshees, you can replace it for a Nashers or also for an artifact. Now, the Ornn artifacts that Kassadin can use in terms of best to worst is going to be Zhonya's, Mittens, Seeker's Arm Guard, Dust Defiance, Wit's End, and Infinity Force. So these will be replacing the Quicksilver as well. For Akali items, Edge of Knights is going to be extremely good on her, Bloodthirster, and IE. Essentially, the whole point of Akali is to hope that she gets onto the enemy backline and assassinates some backline carry. You can also use artifacts, such as Suspicious Trenchcoat is going to be her best, Dust Defiance, and also Infinity Force are going to be good on her. In terms of positioning, you want to be positioning your Kassadin and Shen away from the enemy main tank. This way you have the highest chance of not getting stuck on an enemy unit, and hopefully your Kassadin is able to kill through whatever he's attacking and then make it into the enemy backline. And this is how you're going to cap out your board. Once you hit your Akali 3 and your Kassadin 3 on level 6, you're going to start to go level 7 and eventually level 8. On level 7, you can play another arcane, or you can play an arcana unit, such as Tahm Kench or even an Ahri, and then an Arcana signifier the Hecarim. And then on level 8, you're going to be wanting to fit in that Callista plus that Camille for 7 multi-striker. The reason why, another reason why this composition is very, very good is because there are a lot of augments that are currently really useful and helpful in this composition. A couple to name off is going to be Fine Vintage, Multi +1, What the Forge, Immovable Object, Inspiring Epitaph, Keepers, Not Today, Freaky Friday, Row Rejuvenation, Mentorship, Silver Veil, and Press the Attack. So as you might have noticed, most of these augments are actually just helping the Kassadin and the Akali stay alive. You already will have enough damage from this composition, since Multi-Striker is essentially just a pure damage composition, or at least a pure damage trait with just a little bit of HP regen. So you really need some defensive to really round out that composition. A couple of the very last augments that are good, Avenge the Fallen, Giant and Mighty, and Tiny but Deadly are all going to help you out and give you that combat power that you need to really optimize this board. So those are the 3 main comps that I want to talk about today. So I'll do a quick sum up of everything. With the new changes onto patch 14.22, this really brought Xerath back into light and allows you to play a level 9 comp where you just have an insane frontline of 6 Bastion and Xerath plus Milio in the backline with some Archangels. Chrono has been receiving a lot of buffs and also got a lot of buffs on this recent patch. Getting a +1 Chrono means that eventually you want to play 6 Chrono and carry the Karma, Chrono Emblem on the Morgana, and a Camille. Then last but not least, Kassadin Reroll has been back for a little while and got a ton of buffs this current patch. Make sure that you're rerolling on 6, itemizing your Kassadin and your Akali, and most importantly, picking augments that will help your Kassadin and Akali stay alive longer and giving them the combat power that they need. So that's been everything for today. Make sure that you join the Training Grounds Discord channel or my personal coaching Discord channel if you're interested. And hopefully I will see you all next week with perhaps some PBE content. That's all, and best of luck on your end of season grind. Have a great night and take care.